So Manchester City are FA Cup champions and for the first time ever have achieved a unique domestic treble. It has never been done before in the men's game, but Manchester City have won the Premier League, Carabao Cup and FA Cup all in a single season. And I wanted to give you guys a match review of the Emirates FA Cup Final 2019 with Manchester City up against Watford at Wembley Stadium, which took place yesterday. Now, I wasn't able to do this yesterday. I've been kind of doing the final stage of this lovely studio. It's not fully done yet, but this is kind of my new backdrop of what you're going to be seeing. There might be a couple of videos that I've already recorded prior that come out on the channel, which will see the old background, but this is the new DJ Bagpuss studio. It is very, very nice. The lighting is so much better. The background is really, really lovely. And yes, we have got a new set of football videos to come, and we have started with the FA Cup. Now, I haven't done any FA Cup videos this season. I mean, partly due to the fact that Arsenal were knocked out in the fourth round. So kind of when you get knocked out of the FA Cup, you don't really care about the FA Cup if your side are not really in it. Although the FA Cup does hold a very kind of special place in my heart for a number of reasons. Not just because it is the competition that Arsenal are the most successful in. We're the most successful side in FA Cup history. We've won the competition the most amount of times, but there is something quite special about the FA Cup final, that day of when you're building up to the match, kind of, you know, it unites the whole of the country together, and it is a staple. I think it is probably the most esteemed cup competition that there is in history, really. But in recent times, the FA Cup has been quite disrespected, and not many teams, unless you win it, if you don't win it, you don't really care. So it's kind of on the one hand, you'd like to win the FA Cup, but then if you get knocked out of the competition, you're not really going to lose any sleep over it. But I would say also that this season, that when Manchester City have been in the competition, I just expected them to win it. I mean, it's just, they're unbelievable. They're absolutely unbelievable. And a lot of the big teams as well got knocked out in the early stages, which it just left kind of Manchester City, you know, and I mean, Manchester United got knocked out, I think, in the quarter-final stage or semi-final stage. No, I think it was quarter-final stage, because Wolves then got into the semi-final and got knocked out by Watford. So there wasn't really many big sides left in the competition, and because there wasn't many left sides left in the competition, it just kind of loses the whole magic of the FA Cup. And in my eyes, I think that the FA Cup is at its best when you've got the lesser teams triumphing against the big boys, because you can't write or predict what happens in the FA Cup, and that is why we love the competition so much, because you just don't know what is going to happen next. But Manchester City under Pep Guardiola have been quite unbelievable. I'll be talking about them in my Premier League season review, and again, I didn't do a Carabao Cup kind of review because A, Arsenal weren't in it, and B, you just knew that Man City up against Chelsea, Manchester City beating Chelsea by 6-0, even though Chelsea made Manchester City work for it, you kind of always knew in the back of your mind that Manchester City were going to win. But they are just, I mean, there's been a lot of debate of whether they are regarded as the greatest English side ever assembled. We've seen some great English sides. I still think Manchester United's treble, because it included the Champions League, is better than Manchester City's treble. But I would say that Manchester City are probably the greatest English side we've ever seen, because in the modern game, it is so difficult to dominate. I'd say about 10-20 years ago, maybe domination was quite easy because there wasn't as many teams going for the top, and you know, every single team is so competitive now. Every single team is desperate to win, and you can't now say, oh, we're going to win this game. We're going to absolutely win this game. Whether you're playing, you know, the top player in the Premier League and the top team in the Premier League against the bottom team in the Football League, you can't predict, because every single team is so competitive and striving to be the very best that they can possibly be. As I said, you can't sit there and say that. But I would say that Manchester City have just, I mean, they're relentless. I mean, you know, a 6-0 win at Wembley, granted against a Watford side who are kind of, you wouldn't really expect them to do anything. But, you know, Manchester City probably weren't even at their best yesterday, and yet they still won by 6-0. I mean, it's just, they've got so much going for them. You know, they work hard every single moment of every single minute, from the first second to the last second, from, you know, the dying start to the dying end. Every single one of those Manchester City players are in that game from first post to last battle. You know, they will fight for anything. They will kind of do anything that you possibly can think of, that they track runners, their intensity that they have to win the ball back in high areas. They could be 4 or 5 goals to good, and yet they're still striving for more and more and more. Pep Guardiola wants more and more and more, and he wants perfection, and he will not stop until he gets perfection. It's just, they have just got, every single player is at a level where I can't see them getting better, because they're still kind of doing everything that they possibly can. There's not much else that Manchester City can do. They've got a manager in Pep Guardiola who demands the very best, and if you don't give him the very best, you're out of the team and he'll bring somebody in. And they're like that on the training ground, on the pitch. Everything about them is all about being relentless, going to the very, very end. I mean, they were quite fortunate actually, because I think Watford actually started the FA Cup Final really, really well. I think they had some really good opportunities. They had 2 clear-cut opportunities when I think it was Delafeu was in and was denied by Edison, and they had a very clear penalty in my eyes. That was wrongly kind of given the other way. I think it would have been a penalty. It should have been a penalty. It was a handball from Company, but the referee kind of gave it to Manchester City, who ultimately did get 2 goals through David Silva from the first. The ball went in down the right hand side and slotted it into the back of the net, and then Gabriel Jesus, it actually went down as a Sterling goal, as Sterling got a hat trick, but it's still showing on some stats as a Gabriel Jesus goal. But it kind of, Gabriel Jesus put the ball past Gomez, and then Sterling got the final touch onto the ball. But then, in my eyes, I kind of was sitting there and thinking to myself that it would have been going in anyway, just Sterling kind of confirmed the ball going into the back of the net. But apparently it's been given as a Sterling goal, and he's got a hat-trick. And at 2-0, they were comfortable, Manchester City, but they weren't cruising, and they weren't at their very best. I mean, Watford had a couple of decent chances in the early stage of the game, as I've said, but they could have easily, got a goal or 2, Watford, and certainly at 2-0, it was anybody's game, really. And then Pep Guardiola brings on Kevin De Bruyne, and then they go from 2-0 to 6-0. I mean, the final 30 minutes of the FA Cup Final was some of the best football I think I've ever seen, and it's been a season of witnessing some of the best football I've ever seen. De Bruyne's goal was stunning. The fact that he just kind of passed it into the back of the net, as cool as a cucumber, as calm and as cool and as collective as you could possibly think. And then Sterling just kind of goes from there to there, scoring 2 more amazing goals. And Watford just, you feel for Watford, because they built themselves up. They were in a great position to secure 7th in the Premier League, and because they had bagged themselves a place in the FA Cup Final, I think they put all of their eggs into the FA Cup and kind of lost sight of that. They had a terrible end to the season. They lost out on 7th place because they knew that they had this FA Cup Final to look forward to. And they just get rolled over by Manchester City. And the scary thing is, I don't even think Manchester City were playing at their best, and they still beat Watford by 6-0. I mean, going forward, they can pass you to death. They can score unbelievable goals. They defend as a team. The pressing, the intensity, the physical, the kind of mental and natural levels that this side has is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And, the question now is, how can Manchester City get better? I mean, for this Manchester City side to go down as the greatest side ever, they need to win the Champions League next season, and that is the only thing that Pep Guardiola is missing to win everything you could possibly win at club level, and to do that in 4 seasons, unbelievable. So that is the main aim. Manchester City have got to win the Champions League next season, and that's if they don't get banned from the Champions League. So they've got a lot of behind the scenes issues, but to achieve a domestic treble, something which hasn't been done before. Manchester United achieved I don't know if you call it a continental treble, because they got the League Cup, or I don't know, was it the FA Cup or League Cup? I think they either won the FA Cup or the League Cup. They won the Premier League and they won the Champions League in 1999. And I think just because the Champions League is incorporated in that treble, you have to say that is a better treble than what Manchester City have got. But in terms of, if you played the Manchester United team of 1999 against this Manchester City 2019 team, Manchester City come on top. I mean, it's hard for me to say, because I've always regarded the invincible team of 2004 the greatest Premier League side that we've ever seen. But I actually think that this Manchester City side are better, and it pains me to say that. They've just got so many great players in the prime of their lives, playing the absolute best. I mean, players that at other clubs wouldn't have been performing at the level that they are, because they've got Pep Guardiola as their manager. Players like Bernardo Silva, players like Leroy Sané. Sergio Aguero is coming to the end of his career almost. He's getting quite old, he's aging as a player. And yet he's still regarded as the best striker in the world, or one of the best strikers in the world. I mean, you know, they've got 98 points in the Premier League, and Liverpool matched them, and they won their last 14 Premier League games in a row. They've won the Carabao Cup, they've won the FA Cup. Apart from missing out on the Champions League, which you could say was controversial, they shouldn't have been knocked out in the way that they did against Tottenham Hotspur. So you very much could have easily seen them get past Ajax and then get into the Champions League final, where they would have met Liverpool had that second leg against Tottenham Hotspur gone in their favour. It's all if, buts and maybes, but still, it's just, I can't see how they can improve. I mean, obviously now the news has come out that Vincent Kompany is leaving to become a player manager at Anderlecht. And just, you know, for him, he's been a legend and a staple at Manchester City. And when Pep Guardiola came into Manchester City, he came into that side with an aging squad, a squad that I felt was kind of falling and faltering down. And they've just gone and, you know, Pep Guardiola has taken them to another level. Yes, he spent a ridiculous amount of money, but what he's done with the players that he's brought in and the players that he's assembled and the way that they play, I just can't see anybody getting near Manchester City. And as an Arsenal fan, they're in another league. They're in another country to us. They're on their own football planet, and I just can't see how we're going to get anywhere near them. It was an unbelievable FA Cup final. It was, you know, one of those which had no drama. It was just, you're watching an FA Cup final and you're sitting there as a neutral and think to yourself, A, I feel bad for Watford, B, I can't believe how good Manchester City are, and C, it's just, if you're a Watford player, you just wanted to get off that pitch yesterday because it was humiliating. But at the same time, you're probably going to see sitting there at the end of the game and say, wow, what can we say? You know, Watford did everything that they possibly could. It wasn't even that Watford played badly. It's just Manchester City were on another level. And, you know, congratulations to Manchester City. 6 goals in an FA Cup final, equaling the record of most goals in an FA Cup final. And they just keep breaking records upon records upon records. And I think next season for them, again, I'll be talking about this more in my Premier League season review, which is to come, but I feel like next season, Manchester City have got to win the Champions League, because if they do, they will go down as the greatest side that we've ever seen. But a domestic treble, it's not bad. It's not a bad season for Pep Guardiola, and just, it kind of adds to what has been an unbelievable season of football. We've seen probably one of the greatest Premier League seasons, the greatest Champions League season you could possibly imagine. And that was one of the greatest FA Cup games from one side and one side's individual performance. One of the greatest games that we've ever seen. And we've now got the Europa League final and the Champions League final before we go into a Nations League semi-final. And then the new season of football starts. So I just kind of wanted to give my kind of brief thoughts and feelings to Manchester City's FA Cup triumph against Watford. And the first video in this brand new DJ Bagpuss studio. It's just, I mean, it's just such a nice... It's been so nice. Been out of this studio for the best part of 2 weeks. I recorded my very first Analysing Arsenal, the last Analysing Arsenal of the Premier League season, the penultimate one, on my phone. It was kind of in this room, but not in the actual kind of bit of where my new studio is. It was kind of still in its kind of early development stages, but I'm looking forward to rounding off Analysing Arsenal and doing a Champions League season preview and review as well. And yeah, I kind of hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. So let me know your thoughts and feelings to Manchester City's unbelievable season and the FA Cup final, your thoughts and feelings. Let me know down in the comment section below. Please make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and check out my great content as well. And until next time, this is Pep signing out. Take care, and I shall see you all later. Take care, and I shall see you all very, very, very soon.